Hey, just been staying out, but needed a couple days just to be miserable because this is so boring and I can't really trade or do much and it sucks. But I'm gonna get back in the game, so we'll see how things go. Now I'm expecting a bounce here. I'm not 100% confident, but if you remember when I kind of drew out a rough estimate, where I said if we were to get continued bounce here, like a daily reversal, which we didn't get, then it could look something like this. But I said if we didn't actually bounce at this level and we went below the 618, then the next target would be the 786 retracement. It's pretty much exactly where we ended up, right? So originally we bounced on the 618, we bounced up, and then I had played around with a couple longs. I had a nice short, I had a nice long, and I was kind of going back and forth. I had some bad trades, some good trades, but overall I was kind of taking the slow road, mostly staying out, waiting for a bigger move. And when we got that bigger move, I would expect it to either launch off of the 618, or if it falls below the 618, which was this bounce here. I was going for a bounce there. We got a bounce, but it wasn't really that big, and then we continued lower. If it went below that level, then the 786 at like 31.5 would have been the target, and that's pretty much exactly where we ended up. So if you remember, we had a few different support and resistance levels. So the main one all the way down just under 30K. So pretty much right around 30K. And then at 31 to 32, in this range, there was all this support. You can see all these bounces occurred right around that level. So we're right at that main support. So not only is it a main support, but the 4-hour Stoch is reversing here. We haven't had a clear repeating pattern with the Stoch, so that hasn't been that useful. So I'm relying on other things. We have a bit of a channel. You can see that original trend line resistance, right? But now we have a similar trend line support. So we actually end up with a bull flag because we had that initial move up, right? So it's hard to see with the green. Let me see, maybe I could change the colors, but let me see. Yeah, let's do that. Let me change this to white so you can see it a little bit, or make it yellow. Still kind of crappy. Let me get rid of that rough Elliott wave count so you can see it a little better. Here we go. So we actually have this bull flag. So it's not necessarily, I'm still overall bullish about getting below 30, but we still don't have any clear indication of which direction we're going to go, right? So I'm still playing the short-term game here. Overall, I'm expecting longer term. Now, if you remember, when we were up in these levels, I had closed out all the longer-term bags that I had. I'm considering opening up those longer-term positions now that we're back down to this low again. At the same time, I don't want to get in too early. If I got in right now, it would be trying to catch the exact bottom. So I want to give it a little bit of room. If she starts running back up and the alts start making moves and we start getting some gains going, it could be time to go long. But for now, I think primarily shorting is going to be the way to go. But short term, I do expect a bounce. So I longed BTC here. Let's see what happens with this bounce. If she could really start moving, we could potentially see this trend line continue downward. So we might actually set an approximate target, in theory, of going up maybe 6-7%. 5 to 7% is certainly possible with that main resistance. If we broke that resistance, that's when I would go in big to all of my longer term holds. All my mid and long term holds, I would load up big time, because that would be the big thing that has to happen, is breaking that trend line resistance. Because again, if this was a bottom, right, and we have this bull flag here, getting above that trendline resistance is going to be big. Now, there's been so much negative news. I've shared a couple articles with China going ham, other countries, the UK attacking crypto advertisements. Overall, generally, the sentiment is pretty negative. There's a ton of negative news, and they're attacking at all fronts. They really want to pull this market down as low as they can. But with everything going on, it still hasn't gone down. It still hasn't dropped down below 30K, at least not for more than a brief candle and a quick wick down. So I don't see a sustainably lower low. I think we're going to hold and continue upward. So I'm still overall bullish about recovering from this level. If we were to dump into the 20s, then extended bear trend for the next 6 months. Yes. But unless that happens, we're still in limbo here. We can play these swings up and down, and right now seems like the perfect opportunity to go long. Everything about this particular point right here is confirming that existing trendline support. Although I will point out there was also a trendline support here where I was off for a couple days really and I wasn't trading, in which case it broke but with a quick wick. So overall, that main trend line still holding, just that wick did break momentarily. When 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles, or rather 5 candles hold at that exact trend line support and one quick wick goes down, it doesn't necessarily invalidate the support. The support's still there. Just whatever was holding it in place briefly fell off, and then we're reestablished those on the order books. Whatever's propping it up at that price was reestablished. So with the reset on the 4 hour, it totally looks like we're going to bounce here. I will say this bounce all the way from the bottom of the wick isn't huge. And the one thing that's a little concerning is the hourly stoke is getting high pretty quick, although we really haven't had a reliable model there either. Overall, like all of my models have been pretty much crap because we haven't really had a sustainable pattern. We are seeing some signs on the oscillator. So, for instance, on the RSI, we have a bit of an uptrend. It was looking really good. We had some strong bullish divergence, and then RSI kind of dumped down. But if it wasn't for that dump on this last dump right here, we would actually be in a really good position here. So I think overall, I still like the trend. I still think it's worth getting into a trade here. So for right now, I got into a small trade because, again, the hourly stoke is getting kind of high. It might move up a little bit, come back down a little bit, and then push up. So I don't want to open a very large position. So I'm sticking my toes in the water. My short earlier obviously predicted this whole dump. I actually sold halfway down and went long, and then I ended up getting stopped out on the long. So I didn't do that well on that session, but I did decently well. It just wasn't that easy to predict. But again, if you go back to what I've been saying for months now, we're probably like 2 months into this. Where every time I get in expecting a bounce, we get a quick dip and then we get the move up, right? I expected a dump. We got a quick little dump, but then it went up higher before the bigger dump. So right here, I'm expecting a bounce. So I'm going long, but I'm only putting a small amount of capital in play. This market's been crazy. The reason I've been taking a couple days off here and there is because it's so hard to model what's going on in this market. So I'm putting in a small amount of capital in play. I'm going to see what happens. If we get one of these where it moves up a little bit and then it just has a quick dump down, I'm going to double down at that new low. Because look what happened here, right? Like I got in expecting the reversal. It had a quick dump. Then it went on the nice run up, right? So if I were to enter here and then it double down when it goes down lower, I'm in a really good position. Here, I went short, right? And then I doubled down on the bounce up. And then I did well on the move down. I just didn't hold it long enough, and I sold when we got down to this local bottom. I really wish I held all the way down here, but I didn't think it was going to get this low. So right here, I'm doing the same thing. I'm kind of following that same strategy. I put a small amount of money in play. If we break out from here, I can add to it. And if we get a rejection pretty soon, maybe from the 55 EMA, and we come back down and we retest this trend line support, or even if we were to come all the way down and test this trend line support, then I would double down on the long. So for now, I'm not even using a stop loss. I only have a small amount of money in this trade, so it's not a huge deal not to have a stop loss. Plus, I'm sort of using a strategy I've been employing the few times I've actually attempted to trade over the last month. I've mostly stayed out, as you guys know. People in the group who have expired, I haven't even removed you guys because I'm kind of waiting for the market to pick up, and then if you guys want to renew, great, because I know right now if I remove you guys, you're not going to want to renew since the market's crap and we can't actively trade anyway. So I'm hoping we can get into at least 1 or 2 nice reversals and we can get some sort of pattern going. So let's see if I can get this long here. If we break up from here, or if we have a quick move down and then we break up, I'll be really excited about that because that'll be the first time in like a week that I've actually made money. So I got a small position going, and I'm going to set some notifications. If we come back down to this trend line, right? So if we get back down to like 31.5 right here, not that much further down from here, but I'm maybe a little bit lower. If we get back down to like 31.4 or so, 31.4 to 31.5 in that range, I got a notification going there, so I'll get an alert. And then I can double down, or I can watch what's going on and decide when to double down later. And if we were to break up and start pushing up to this 55 EMA and get above about 32.4, then I'll probably want to double down on the way up as well. So I don't know where I'm going to double down, but I'm going to double down regardless of which way we go. Oh, why did that do that? That was weird. I'm going to double down regardless of which way we go. It's just a function of if we get the initial move up or if we get that quick move down before the bigger move up. If you look at the last few trades, like I was saying, going back several trades here, every time I expect that reversal, we do get the quick move down before the bounce or the quick move up before the dump. So let's look for the same thing here. I do like this model though. I'm excited about it because I haven't traded for a few days, and I think that this is going to go really well. I think we're going to move up from here, but we still might get a quick move down before the bigger move up. Overall, with that 4-hour model reversing, I certainly think we're getting the bigger move up. Now, when we get to these lower levels, again, even here, right, you're going to get a bounce, even if it's not a huge bounce. So no matter what, you can expect, just to kind of slow things down a bit, if you can get like a 2 or a 3% bounce, sometimes that's all you need just to get some more confidence, right? And then you're not worried about an imminent dump. This one right here was a very, very tiny bounce. That one was only like 2.5%, so it didn't really do anything. And then we dumped down. But besides that one failure, every other time, so that was the only one. When we bottomed out on the Stoke here and turned up, that was the only time it didn't hold and it dumped. That's when I got out of my short and I went long, and then it failed and I took a loss on the long. If you go to the time before that, when we bottomed out on the 4-hour and turned up, we got a nice bounce. The time before that over here, when we bottomed out, we got a nice bounce. The time before that over here, when we bottomed out, we got the nice bounce. And the time before that, when we bottomed out, we got the nice bounce. Right? So, same thing over here. Bottomed out over here, got the nice bounce. Every single time we get to these lower reset levels on the 4-hour Stoke, we get a nice bullish bounce. The only time on this entire chart that I have on the screen right here that you can see where that failed, right, where we got to that lower reset level on the 4-hour stochastic oscillator down here, the only time we got down to those lower levels and then it dumped was this last time when I tried to go long. So obviously every model is going to fail eventually, but still, this is like 6 in a row or 5 in a row and then a failure. So I'm hoping it's going to hold here. So far, so good. It looks like it's going to hold. So I got a small amount of capital in play. I'll add to it if we start to move up. I'll add to it if we get one more quick move down. But either way, I'm definitely expecting this bullish reversal short term. I'm not going to jump into the alts right now because they all look like shit, and I want to wait and see what happens. If BTC starts to push up, then I'll get into some of the alts, and we can do that tonight. Once I get the kids down, I might even do a live stream. But we'll see. Let's see what BTC does, because the BTC starts pushing up. We'll see the alts reverse as well. Then we can start looking for the various altcoins that look like they have the highest potential for a reversal. But for now, I'm starting just with the majors, specifically with BTC. And I'll probably wait on Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum and see what happens with BTC first. I'm kind of taking it slow. After taking a couple days off and after the way the market's been of late, I don't want to get too aggressive, obviously. Otherwise, I'm just going to be throwing good money after bad. So let's see what happens. Let's give it a few hours, see if we get this reversal on the 4-hour. And if so, we're in a good position. Then we can start exploring some potential altcoin entries. UTK looks good, for instance. T-Fuel could be reversing. So several of these are attractive. But I definitely want to wait until BTC makes her move. Then I'll have more confidence deciding where we're going. Link is definitely something to watch too, because we're at the main support down here. It's not close enough to a support where we could use a stop loss, because that support's like 6% below the current entry, almost. But we could still use it. But that is a main support. There's also another minor support right where we currently are in Link, right? So even though the main support was down here where that last wick landed, all these candles were held right at this level. So this exact level right here where we're currently sitting is actually a good minor support too. So that's something to watch. Link is probably going to be one of the alts I jump into if BTC gives us the reversal. So I'll touch base with you guys in a bit, and we'll try to figure out what the next move is. But for now, I'm sticking to Bitcoin, play it by ear, and we'll see where we are in a couple hours once this candle plays out. All right, talk to you soon.